welcome back. I'm sure you benefited somewhat from the YEI. You earned it, publication of Marilyn's. And we're now going to a completely different topic. We're going to handspring puppets, which I think you'll really enjoy.
The Factory of the Arts is a project of the Centre for Humanities Research at the University of the Western Cape. As a historically black university, there's not been the disciplines of the creative arts at the University of the Western Cape. And so the Centre for Humanities Research was very interested to bring the creative arts across the disciplines into a much closer dialogue, a much more intimate conversation with humanities research across different disciplines, putting students, postgraduate students, scholars, partners from around the world into conversation with artists. The Factory of the Arts has a number of artists in residence, and the idea of the residential arts fellowships is that through arts residencies, artists would both explore their own arts practice, engage in arts education programs, initiatives, workshops, with high school learners and with other members of the public and the university to explore the relationship between creativity, how we activate our imaginations, and how we think about our social and historical conditions as South Africans at this moment in our history. The Factory of the Arts was established in 2015. It's a very new project, very exciting. It was established so that we could reignite and reactivate arts as a way to think about the world and as an expression of creativity and thought in areas that have been neglected since 1994 in arts education practices and in arts education approaches that are in tune with the challenges of a globalized world at this time. So the Factory of the Arts is now hosted in this space, which in District 6, this building, the St. Philip's building, which is part of St. Philip's Church, and we're very, very grateful that they are hosting us and the artists in residence here. But this building has a multi-layered history, and so one of its in previous incarnations is that it was also home to the Community Arts Project during the 1980s, and when many arts programs and artists in residence and arts educators convened here to explore questions of what would a society look like after apartheid. So it was very much a site of a creative experiment years before. This is a very different project, but it also draws its inspiration from earlier initiatives.
Myself, I'm a painter and I draw, so I use paint and oil paint, acrylics. I also do charcoal drawing and chalk pastels. And yeah, lately, since this year, I've been collaborating with a lot of artists, mostly musicians and spoken word artists, also just to expand, I challenge myself further, you know, and other working with other creatives, creative people. I'm here in this residency program, the Factory of the Arts. Myself, I'm with Reza Khota, as you've heard the other names. Basically, This year I also kind of would say invented, but this was also an effort with other artists involved who I was working with. So somehow I discovered something I would call like a sound canvas. So where the actual mark making on the canvas is projected into a sound. Hence I'm able to play with or to experiment with other artists who are working with sound. And recently we have had shows here at the Factory of the Arts and a couple of performances in other studios like Studio 147 in Table View, and we did a performance also at the Artscape Theatre, part of a festival there. So it's still work in progress, especially this one where I work with sound. Other than that, I do skills sharing workshops. So I work with learners from high school, and I also work with elderly people. Recently, I've been involved also with Human Rights Media Center, where I've been part of the process of people retelling their stories and also assisting and facilitating the process of visualizing those stories.
That's nice.
Well, there are 4 pillars in the Factory of the Arts. First pillar is critical thinking. We want to develop an audience that's got critical thinking and also artists themselves. Therefore, there is what we call the Artist Forum, which we want to start early next year. Once a month, there will be a symposium here. Artists will talk about aesthetics and politics. Artists will talk about African writing. That's the first pillar. Then the pillar of us as artists, practicing our craft and fine-tuning our craft. We've got studios here. I have a room here next door where I work with artists. There we explore poetry, we explore plays, and we write new things and try other ideas. That space is not given in professional theaters. The other space is what we call outreach laboratories, which is in Lehulere, Khayelitsha, Manenberg, and Delft. We will have spaces there that artists can work in their communities and come here, work there. That will run by us, but our artists in residence also will go there and run workshops in the schools in Khayelitsha, in Lehulere, in Delft, and Manenberg.
We established the Factory of the Arts both to set in place the conditions and the creative disciplines that could become a foundation for a future art school, with a focus on puppetry arts. And the Ukwanda Puppetry and Design Collective, who emerge out of the Handspring Puppet Company, have one of the residencies, and through placing puppetry at the center of a multidisciplinary arts program, our intention is to connect new publics with artists, with scholars, and with communities that have been ignored as being spaces in which creative work, creative disciplines are absolutely necessary for the lives of people.
What a nice change of pace that was. So let's now go to a break, and we'll be back shortly.
Whoa!